Greetings and bienvenue, midnight crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Scary outdoor Greentext stories thread. I'll start with a couple of personal ones. Be me. I've recently gotten into astrophotography, so many of my adventures require me to venture into rural areas away from city lights and cell signal. On this night, I chose 3 areas in the North Georgia mountains to hit up, beginning with a spot called Blood Mountain. Presumably named this because of a bloody battle that took place between 2 Native American tribes. Hear many strange stories about this area, but I don't really think much of them. This place is also known as an area with really high rates of accidents. As you go up along the mountain, you will find numerous small decorated crosses along the sides of the roads, and it is a little bit off-putting to drive through at night. I at least have enough of a survival instinct to bring a friend along, so I invite my longtime friend Daniel along, but not enough to bring a gun. He's not a big fan of the outdoors, but he's fun to be around. Figured his fun and humor might lighten the mood and keep things chill. New moon tonight, so it is especially dark out. We crack plenty of jokes along the way and take turns hitting his wax pen like degenerates. Get to a runaway truck ramp around the top of Blood Mountain, as it has a nice clear view of the sky. Pic related. demviews.png. The weed makes the night sky look extra gorgeous. We're having fun identifying some constellations and galaxies when all of a sudden we hear a very faint blood-curdling scream. Sounds like it was coming a little ways away from us. It sounded as though a woman was being mauled to death. Daniel turns pale and looks like he just shit himself.
Anon. What the fuck was that?
My paranoia briefly skyrockets before I realize we are in an area with lots of cougars. Sounds like a cougar that really wants to fuck tonight. I reply. Reassure him that cougars are notorious for screaming like banshees when they're in heat. Reminds us of the time one of our friends tried to sleep with a much older woman and the chill vibes somewhat returned. My paranoia lingers a bit and we decided to move on to our next location called Popcorn Overlook. I had downloaded a map of the area via Google Maps, so it was easy to set the next location and get going. I had gone from Blood Mountain to Popcorn Overlook for a separate adventure during the daytime, so I vaguely know the way, but it is harder to make it around the roads at night. Google Maps wants me to take a different route than before. It's a narrow gravel road as opposed to a paved one that I've been through before. Looks a little spooky, but whatever. We pass by a couple of rundown houses and joke about what sort of hicks must live up these parts. Road begins to get narrower.
Anon, are you sure this is the right way?
Daniel asks. I've never been through here, but I'm sure this is a quicker way to cut through the mountains instead of going all the way around them. I reply. To my left is a wall of mountains. To my right looks to be a rather steep drop-off, so I need to drive carefully. We would have been screwed if another car came in the opposite direction. We're both a little freaked out as it is really dark and we're far away from any cities and we have zero service. After driving for what seems like forever but really only a couple minutes, we pass a really sharp curve and the road widens back up. As my car rears the corner, we spot a clean black Mercedes van with blacked out windows parked halfway off the road. Beside it sat a piece of folded blue tarp, a bucket, some shovels, and a pickaxe. What the actual fuck.png? Literally makes the hair stand on the back of my neck. Daniel turns to me wide-eyed and tells me to step on it. I say, yeah, this is fucking weird. We just gotta go around it and we'll be fine. I'm shaking a little as we pass the vehicle. The road curves again just past the van. Just as we round the corner, the road abruptly ends and slopes down into a giant body of water. I slam on the brakes hard and my car slips on the gravel. The front bumper is partially submerged. I am absolutely freaking out right now. I can feel my heart in my throat. I immediately shift to reverse and try to back up. My tires spin. Fuck. GIF. I want to just cry. Car makes it out, thank God. I turn around and book it back into drive and go towards the van. We can see a bit into the inside from the windshield, and we both clearly see someone moving around inside it with a flashlight. He looks at us and begins shifting around fast. I don't care about road safety anymore. I just step on the gas pedal all the way and go. Daniel asks me,
Did you see that fucking guy too, or was I tripping?
Too scared to respond, I just focused on not driving us off the gravel road. Keep checking my rear view mirror to make sure we weren't being followed. When we make it back onto the main road, we just go straight back home. We call 911 and report what we encountered, never end up hearing back. No news articles or reports of catching whoever was out there doing whatever. Those screams we heard probably weren't cougars at all. Second story. Be me and a group of 3 friends. Bigger group, bigger balls I suppose. Daniel again, my childhood friend Taylor who enjoys spooky experiences, and Ben who is a rowdy frat boy I met in college. Embarking on another stargazing adventure. This time to a place called Skull Shoals Falls. I sure am great at picking the creepiest sounding locations. Not sure about the origin of the name for this one. Heard it was because someone found a pile of skulls in some abandoned ghost town here, but haven't found any verifiable proof of it. We park along the side of the road and venture into what looks like a park. It's a new moon again and we're away from the city and any signal, so just flashlights and a downloaded map of the area. As we're hiking along, Ben decides to crack jokes about the Wendigo. Taylor freaks out and tells him to shut the fuck up about that before he unintentionally summons one. I get a little shaken up, but it's whatever. Ben is about to cross an old rickety bridge. Something compels me to stop him, so I grab at his shirt and pull him back. Wait, I yell out. I shine my flashlight around the bridge and we notice a fucking city of spiderwebs just hanging out all across the bridge. It was literally several dozen. Happens to be the one thing Ben absolutely shits himself over tonight. We all have a good laugh at the near hell he almost went through. Daniel jokes that the W-man rigged it for him for uttering the word. Taylor punches him in the arm and tells him, "Don't start." Right then we hear someone howling deeper into the woods. Holy fucking shit. We all looked at each other clearly freaked out, except for Ben. Ben smiles and howls back. It starts screaming. Ben screams back. Screaming gets closer. Taylor tells Ben to shut the fuck up and we start booking it out of there and get back to the car. I don't know what to think at this point, but I reason it could be some people camping out there trying to tell us to fuck off. Ben screams out, "What's good, man?" We hear nothing. The woods are dead quiet now except for our rushing footsteps over the crunching leaves. As we are running back to our car following the trail, we spot a deer standing absolutely still in our path. It doesn't move when we shine our flashlights at it. It doesn't move at all actually. Nope. Zip. I get a pit in my stomach as we stare it down. Ben throws a rock at it and hits the thing. Still not moving. We mutually decide not to fuck with it anymore and go around it. Ben pulls a gun out and has it ready. Go off the trail to move around it. Ben kept his flashlight and gun trained on it, me lighting the way ahead, and the others keeping an eye out around us. As we moved back onto the trail, the deer snapped its head around and then ran off back into the woods. We're all just about shitting ourselves at this point. We make it back to my car and just book it back home. Daniel tells me to never invite him to go stargazing anymore if I'm going to pick out a spot with a spooky sounding name. If anyone has insight on whatever the fuck we encountered, it would be appreciated. Still dismiss it like a deer in the headlights situation, but it was extremely odd for us to throw something at it and it still did not move. Last one. Be me and my roommate Alex and his girlfriend Mary. We decided to try out Randonauting at 2 a.m. For those who don't know, weird fucking app that gives you coordinates to explore based on your intention on what you want to find or something. Decided it would be fun to manifest, spooky, because nothing happens in our city. Gives us some bumfic coordinates deep in the woods of a park we go to sometimes. We hop into Alex's car and make our way there. We begin walking and hypothesizing about what we would encounter and then being skeptical about whether this app will even work at all. Eventually make it to the coordinates and we sit around. Nothing.
What a flop.
We decided to keep going. We suddenly see someone else carrying a flashlight wandering around in the distance. We freeze and turn off our lights. Whoever it is, shines its light in our direction and begins running towards us. Oh fuck no PNG. We all immediately ran back the way we came. We walked far but we didn't stop. I make the mistake of turning around and see their light a little closer than before. I tell the others he's gaining on us. We make it back to Alex's car and fucking get the hell out of there. All of us were surprised and wondering what the fuck just happened. Never going randonauting 2 a.m. ever again.
Against my better judgment, I'm going to tell this story. I'd strongly encourage you to not go and bother whatever was involved, or if you go, at least bring some kind of offering. Anyway, be me. The year is 2012 or 2013 or so. Senior in rural New Hampshire high school. Girl I'm close with likes spooky things and so do I. We head out in the middle of the night and visit creepy graveyards, reportedly haunted sites, and interesting areas. One night we're in Mason, New Hampshire, pick related. It's the dead of winter, snow everywhere. We park at the church and walk to the graveyard. Joking around, happily exploring. Every graveyard we visited we'd aim for the back corners and cross the rock walls. Our rationale was that in the olden days people who'd done something wrong were buried just outside of hallowed ground in unmarked graves, so that's where we'd find the most activity. As we're walking towards the back corner, just the two of us, I'm suddenly struck in the chest hard enough to almost be bowled over. Stagger back, almost knock her over, she's like half my height. Shock, look up. Tall dark figure that 100% wasn't there before standing behind the rock wall we were heading towards. This was like 50 feet away, they couldn't have hit me. I get in front of my friend. She's small and must protect. Insist on leaving. She stays long enough to mutter an apology, then we hightail it out of there. One of the scariest experiences of my life, and nothing really even happened. It's true what they say. If you go looking for something, you're bound to find it. I really have to go back and revisit the graveyard one day. It was one of the things I encountered that really stuck with me.
I grew up in Milford. I've had some experiences in the woods far down Osgood Road. I am 11 years old. My house was backed by hundreds of acres of town forest over reclaimed farmland from 1700 to 1800, rock walls outlining property lines. I'm walking down a wall, on top, just following it roughly 300 feet from my house in the woods. A sudden sweet floral smell fills the air. In a split second the world goes quiet, almost muffled, and it looks like a sepia filter has been applied. 3 large brown animals jump over the wall in front of me, moved very fast, somewhere between large dog and black bear sized and relatively canine in shape. As soon as the hop over the world returns to normal, no smell, crisp summer day without any visual changes, and no animals in sight.
Not particularly scary, but it's the only remotely paranormal thing I've ever experienced and tripped me out for a while when it happened. Thanksgiving 2019. Driving to my aunt's place in the Ozarks in southern Missouri. Gray and rainy the entire day. No break in the clouds at all that I can see in the entire 6-hour drive. A few miles outside Branson West. The nearest gas station is like 10 minutes away and I have to piss like a racehorse. Pull off on the side of the road to piss. Off chance a cop will see if I do it right next to the road, and small town cops in southern Missouri are friends and would definitely get me slapped with an indecent exposure charge. Walk about 50 yards into the woods looking back every 10 steps to see if I can still see my truck. opens up to a small clearing, maybe 10 feet across. Notice I don't smell the rain anymore. The ground I'm standing on is dry. Look up, not a single cloud in the sky. Freaking out because nothing out here should be dry when it's been raining for 2 days. Turn around and book it back to my truck. The sky is gray and everything is wet when I get back. Risk it and just piss on the side of the road. The rest of the day passes without incident.
Summer 2020, living in Colorado. Me and my buddy, who were both laid off because of the plague, decided to go on a 22 or so mile hike in the mountains on a fairly well-mapped trail at about 12K elevation. We'll be out for 2 nights. First night, absolutely exhausted but making good time. We hiked a bit off trail and set up a campsite. We marked the area we went off trail. Next morning, everything seems normal. Go to get back on the trail where we marked. Weird-ass homeless-looking men just sitting by a tree on the trail, just waiting for us. Try to talk to him. No response, just staring at us. Both of us are a little freaked at this point. He looks to be covered in dirt and possibly blood. We continue to hike and leave him there, keeping our eyes peeled at all times. Rest of the day was uneventful. We have almost finished the hike already and are going to set up camp mid-afternoon and just relax and plan to smoke some weed. Camp is set up. This time we go a bit further off trail so that homeless guy doesn't find us. We're like 1.5 miles off trail in the woods at this point. Before we're even settled in, homeless guy shows up out of fucking nowhere without making a goddamn sound. No clue how he found us, must have tracking skills. Also no clue why or how he has seemingly followed us for 9+ miles of rough terrain. No equipment or anything, especially without us knowing we were being followed because it was dead quiet the entire time. Try to question him, but he is full on enraged at this point. He just starts mumbling weird sounding shit under his breath. Can't even tell if it's English. We hurriedly pack up camp and book it. He just watches us the entire time from like 10 feet away. Finished the last bit of the hike in a light jog for like 4 miles. Absolutely exhausted because of the elevation. Load up and drive off. Called the nearest ranger station and informed them of everything. They didn't care. We could have tried scaring him off. But dude seemed unhinged and we didn't really want to escalate things to violence and possibly get murdered in the middle of the night if he came back. Not necessarily paranormal, but just freaky shit. We called the local ranger station and informed them. And to nobody's surprise, they didn't give a fuck. I asked if there were known grow ops in the area and they said no. Which was likely a lie, but I've stumbled upon them before in Colorado and other states. And they never resemble anything like this dude. They always seem to be fairly well-groomed for the most part. And will at least communicate, usually to tell you to fuck off, not mumble some schizophrenic weirdness. Guy was in no state to manage a pot farm.
Got a personal experience to share. Would love some input on what you guys think I saw. Some quick background. I grew up in the Northeast United States, in a smallish town, not rural but not super urban. Our house was in a more hilly and wooded area of the town, a few miles from downtown, old farms around, postcard New England woodland. Be me, first grader in early fall, playing outside with 2 of my younger brothers in the front yard. Around 6:30 to 7 p.m., kind of dusky, Mom calls us in for dinner. We run up to the front porch leading to the front door and I had a rubber snake toy in my hand, whip it behind me into the grassy central part of the yard. Had a wraparound driveway with a yard in the middle. Me and my brothers turned around to watch how far it went. Kobe crash plan. See where it landed. See a shadowy black-looking figure standing exactly where the snake landed. Approximately 3 to 4 feet tall, half blended in with the dusk, glowing orangish eyes staring right at us. We all scream and stumble over each other, piling through the front door, all in tears. Look back outside, nothing to be seen. Went outside the next day and the snake was cut into 3 pieces. This is the first time we saw it. We are adults now and remember this exactly the same. I'm the only one to have seen it twice. Story to follow. Story 2. This happened 5 years later. At this point we moved across town to a larger house, more wooded, on the edge of a town forest, dead-end neighborhood surrounded by hundreds of acres of woods and a few quarries deep in the woods. At this point, I have completely put out of my mind my previous experience. At a friend's house for his birthday party. Midsummer, 7:30 to 8 p.m., dusk again. Around 10 of us outside playing teamed manhunt. Me and my birthday boy run into the woods and find a large downed tree trunk to hide behind. Hiding for a couple of minutes when all forest noise stopped. No wind, no birds, that sort of very unsettling silence you don't find in the woods during the summer. A friend and I looked at each other once we noticed the stillness. Look behind us. About 30 yards behind us we see the same shadowy figure staring at us. Simultaneously there but not, glowing eyes, amorphous being. Nope, the ever-loving fuck out of there screaming and crying. Leave the tree line and noise comes back. Yell for everyone to get inside. Spend the night playing Vidya trying to forget. It was at this point that I connected the dots to the original experience. Both times I felt what I can only describe as primordial fear. To this day I get a hair-raising feeling when thinking about it, and until a few years ago my eyes would water just talking about it. I saw a psychic, medium, healer back in college and she said it was an energy, being watching over me, keeping me from harm, but I'm not sure I buy that. I know things come in threes and ever since I was a kid I've been terrified of what it means if I see it again. One more sighting. Experience, whatever you want to call it. Not related to the previous two but happened in the same area. As said before, the house is at the edge of hundreds of acres of town forest. Used to be farmland but nature reclaimed after 1830. The edge of our property was an old stone wall used for livestock of some sort. Many fond memories of exploring the woods day and night, LARPing with airsoft guns, fantasy role play with sticks, etc. Quality childhood. DND. Summer vacation. Outside playing. Start to walk down the rock wall towards the pond in our neighborhood. Only a quarter mile away, can still see our house through trees. What happened next took place in about 15 seconds real time. Walking, not really paying attention. The forest gets silent and I smell something sweet, sort of like lavender but with something else I've never been able to identify. The world seemed dipped in a light sepia hue. 3 massive light brown dog-shaped things dash in front of me right over the rock wall. Like they jumped over it directly in front of me. As soon as they cleared the wall the world returned to normal, smell gone, no animals visible anywhere. Book it Mach 10 to the house and run inside freaking out. Never had any explanation and haven't had anything major happen since. Not terribly scary or life-threatening, but these 3 experiences have stuck with me and I'm always conscious of the power of the woods and things we cannot see or understand.
Put me in the goddamn video.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember that all videos have been archived on the Odyssey page.